Okay, welcome to the Committee of the Whole for Lions Bay. The day is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. Time is 7:03. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll just do a roll call. Councillors online. Councillor Cunliffe, are you present?
Present.
Councillor Abbott?
Present.
Okay. Yes.
Councillor Abbott, if you are unable to attend this full meeting, can you let me know when you are checking out of it so we can record that time?
Okay.
For the minutes.
I can guarantee I won't make the end of it if it's a long discussion.
Okay. Councillor Broughton is present. Mayor is present. Councillor Reuter?
I don't see Councillor Reuter.
Okay, Councillor Reuter absent. Okay, with that, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Could I add an item to the agenda?
Okay, we'll just have a motion to adopt it, and then we'll
Then we'll do an amendment.
yeah,
Okay.
then we'll do an amendment. So moved by Councillor Broughton. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe seconded, and amendments.
Could we add the beach park open house? Lions Bay Beach Park Revitalization Open House.
Under what section? Under which section here?
Where would you like that?
Business or no?
Your business?
New business?
New business. Okay, beach park. Beach park. Okay, any other amendments, edits?
Can I just ask why we need to add that? I'm not going to make it to that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was hoping we could get to the shorter stuff from the meeting, but
Sure, Councillor Abbott, we're putting that under new business. That'll be item number 8. So I think it's later down there. Councillor Broughton, any reason why we're adding that? You just like that added?
Well, I don't think we need to negotiate why it's.
No, good enough. We'll call the question. Okay, no other amendments. We'll call the question. All in favor with the amendment adding the beach park to new business?
Aye.
Okay.
Sure.
Councillor Cunliffe, yay or nay?
I'm fine. If Councillor Abbott isn't able to make it through, then we can forge ahead without him.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe is a yay. Councillor Abbott?
nay.
Nay. Okay. All motion carried.
Perfect.
The public participation, and there is Norma Rogers there.
Okay, Norma Rogers, you've got your hand up. Got 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hi. I want to speak against the proposed garbage bylaw amendments recommended by CAO Blackwell and Bylaw Officer Bindra during the December 10th council meeting. The proposal to return to old bylaw provisions because there is already a fee schedule in place is backwards. We should be adjusting the fee schedule to reflect the current situation. This past bylaw being proposed allowed residents to put out clean recycling the night before, even though some residents do not even rinse containers, and garbage food waste placement anytime after 5 a.m. During the Lions Bay process to become Bear Smart, Council moved the bylaw's placement time to 7:30 and included recycling because bears, raccoons, coyotes, and ravens had access for too many hours, and it resulted in debris-strewn roads and frequent wildlife encounters. This was not an arbitrary bylaw provision, but a requirement of Bear Smart community status to enact bylaws that reduce human-bear conflicts for the safety of residents. The staggered times enacted in 2022 were crafted to lessen even more the amount of time garbage food waste was roadside, especially in areas experiencing the most bear activity. They also limit access to other creatures in all areas. In his presentation to council, Bindra said there were complaints about the collection schedule and that it was unfair for Bayview residents to have a 7:30 time for garbage placement when Brunswick had to wait until 10. Why is a new bylaw officer without local knowledge or direction from council, recommending bylaw changes based on a few residents complaining about inconvenience, when the current practices keep all residents safer. If residents want to live in a rural, forested environment, then they have the responsibility to coexist peacefully with the area's wildlife. And this means taking more care with food waste.
Okay, Norma, you,
A return to the old practices of placing food waste roadside at 5 a.m. and recycling overnight would result in garbage-strewn roads and increased conflict with wildlife. Any member of council who votes in favor of returning to the old bylaw is undermining Lions Bay's Bear Smart community status and endangering the safety of residents. Thank
thank you,
you.
Norma. Okay, any other comments? Anyone in the gallery like to speak? No, with that, we'll move to the approval, item number 4, approval of the prior minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from December 3rd, 2024? We have a motion to approve the minutes, December 3rd, 2024.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second? Moved by Councillor Broughton. Do we have a second? Councillor Cunliffe or Councillor Abbott?
I can't, as I said earlier, everyone's away. I haven't really had a chance to look at them. Could we not defer them?
I would be in favor of deferring them until such time that everybody has been fully apprised and in the right capacity to digest them.
Councillor Broughton, you made the motion.
Well, if clearly the motion is not going to pass, so yeah, I'll remove the motion.
Okay, we'll remove that, defer them to another meeting.
5.
Sorry,
You're on 5 now. Business arising.
5, business arising, no business arising, unfinished business, topic 6.1, topics for the Union of BC municipalities meeting. Mr. Blackwell, any color on that?
So this is just primarily for the purpose of bringing this matter to the attention of council, seeking direction with regard to how council wishes to proceed with this. There are opportunities to present both at the UBC, resolutions to the UBCM, as well as resolutions to the LMLGA. The council needs to have the opportunity to turn its mind to what issues it wants to advocate for relative to draft resolutions. So if you recall one example that would fit the UBCM platform very well is the notion of these sort of, we call it provincially sourced portable water filtration plants as an example. But there may be other ones. Another example of this is that the province look at facilitating a change in the mandate of emergency management, as we discussed earlier, such that it resides solely within the purview of regional district governments for small communities. There may be other ones. So I'm seeking direction from council for both LMLGA and UBCM. With regard to how you want to approach this. Your options can be send me your ideas, I can compile them, I can prepare some draft material for you for each of these, then I can bring all of that material forward for both of those opportunities for comprehensive dedicated discussion. Or we can do it on the fly, etc. My recommendation is the forward, of course.
Okay, I would be.
If I,
recommendations and such, and you collating and coming back to us. Councillor Cunliffe?
yeah, I was actually, you took the words right out of my mouth. This would be the LGMLA in May, not the UBCM. I'm looking at the old package, correct? The UBCM would be in the fall and LGMLA is the one in May?
Yeah, no, the May deadline is just for submission of resolution.
The deadline, sorry,
Yeah.
okay. But we could present this at the LGMLA in May
Yes,
and then therefore then, lobby some support for the UBCM,
absolutely.
ideally. Yeah,
What do you take? Some resolutions are better suited to take to, so for instance, water filtration plants. LMLGA, you may not get a lot of receptiveness around that. But you take
Correct.
UBCM, where you have a whole bunch of small communities at the UBCM, they're gonna perk up and probably get behind something like this. So you pick and choose which sort of resolution topics best suit your purpose for the LMLGA and which ones best fit for the UBCM.
Understood.
Any other comments?
Yeah, maybe I can just pass a comment.
Councillor Abbott?
So I intend to pursue with that water treatment example at the UBCM. It makes no sense to do it at LMLGA because we the only people, we and part of Bowen maybe, are the only people in Metro that it affects. So it makes no point in taking it to people who wouldn't be
Correct.
interested in it, you just defeat it. But just to put a clarity to Ross's point, passing something with the LMLGA doesn't actually get you anything. You've still got to pass it at the UBCM.
True.
Ross, can I just ask you, last year we put forward some thoughts on, with the UBCM. Would we repeat those again this year?
The short answer is, the UBCM executive vet the submissions and they weed out the ones that are repetitive. So if you wanted to reissue a resolution that was previously submitted either by Lions Bay or by any other jurisdiction, what you want to do is use artistic license with regard to the language you use in your resolution. So it doesn't read the same, but it affects the same outcome. If that makes sense.
Okay, because some of those were pretty big asks. Like the water pipeline and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, if council is comfortable with submitting their ideas and questions, suggestions to Ross, we'll go with that. Yeah.
So my only ask on that one is, please don't forget, and please don't wait till April 30th. The sooner I can get these, the better, because then I can bring, as the mayor suggested, I can collate all of these resolutions and bring them forward to council for a proper discussion around these things.
Okay, Councilor Broughton.
Yeah, just to clarify, this is motions to the VCM. It's not the items that we would bring to the minister who we typically meet at the UVCM.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because that sometimes is a bit confusing.
Okay, we'll move to next item, the action log, and that's on page 8.
If there's anything that council wants to speak to. So.
Is, okay, we've got the action log up here. If there's anything that the councilors would like staff to speak to, or Mr. Blackwell, please let us know.
Yeah, I've got one. I'm just looking at item 319, which is completed. I assume the process is when we complete something, we declare it complete in the meeting and strike it. So what is the outcome of that?
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
I have asked Ms. Kenna to reach out to you directly to talk to you specifically about your concerns. She has reviewed it again and feels convinced that her understanding of the minutes is accurate. So I think there may be a gap. And so I've asked her to reach out to you directly on that. This action log, by the way, is going to change. We're morphing previous log with this current log, but that's going to morph again. And we're going to be moving all of this into the new eScribe program, which will capture all this and create specific action lists. It's a very slick process, far better. So stay tuned as you see this sort of change. In that action log through eScribe, we'll be able to click on those on a tab to show those that have been completed, and another tab that show which things have not been completed to make it much more user-friendly for council.
Okay, so can we leave that as ongoing until we have that meeting, please? And then Ross, maybe if you can join us, we have that discussion.
Certainly.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, I don't see the strategic plan workbook that you would ask for us to complete. Would that be on this list?
No, so you've asked, that I provide sort of a council outstanding to-do list. I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but that's on my to-do list.
So the outstanding council list, which will include the strategic plan workbook and the CEO review,
That would be.
that'll be on a different table?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments? No, okay, back up here. We'll move to item number 7, reports, the staff, garbage and recycling bylaw, number 639, 2024, the amended version. And with that, perhaps we can get Taj to comment and Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. Just preface this. Just want to say that further to the discussion at council when this came forward, there was a desire expressed to have a larger conversation around this. That's the purpose of this now, is to facilitate that. This discussion here today does not necessarily have to be council's only discussion. There can be ongoing discussions around how best to deal with the question. Council can provide direction to staff to do specific research, report back, whatever council chooses. This is just for discussion purposes.
Okay, I've just got a question. Taj, the ombuds person I understood weighed in on this, and what was their recommendation?
They mentioned that they agreed that it is unfair having different times for different neighborhoods. One thing I did was I believe Ross would have sent Councillor Cunliffe and Councillor Abbott the memorandum that I had put together of the comparison.
No, I haven't said that.
Okay,
I did not know that they were not going to be here.
okay.
So maybe you can explain to them what this is.
Okay, yeah, so
They'll
I did a comparison of the other 11 Bear Smart communities within BC. There are a total of 12, the 12th one being Lions Bay. And between all 12, not a single one of them has a collection schedule like we have here, with neighborhoods having certain times. And the majority of the communities have a have a time of 7 a.m. as the time that it needs to be set out by, and it needs to be picked up by 7 p.m. And I feel like this is something that the village of Lions Bay needs to go off of as well. I don't see why Lions Bay is the only community that has a collection schedule set out as we currently do. All these other Bear Smart communities, they have the same issues that Lions Bay does with animal attractants, but for some reason we're the only ones that have this collection schedule. So I just wanted to bring forth that report. And again, this is something that we can forward to the 2 councillors that aren't present, or the 3 councillors that aren't present. And one thing I also wanted to mention was in regards to the complaints that have come in from the community. On August 23rd, there was an email sent from our admin assistant Jordan that was sent to council, titled "Letter Received," which was just basically it sparked the conversation of residents being dissatisfied with the collection schedule, and so it wasn't until we had numerous complaints where we started to create a log of residents that have complained. And so from the time we created the log, there are 4 complaints that we have in the log currently. However, we weren't able to document any complaints that came in prior to this, because we didn't think it was this big of an issue until there was numerous complaints. So it's not to say that there's just these 4 complaints, there are more than 4. And one thing I wanted to touch on was at the last meeting, Councillor Cunliffe suggested that we have some sort of rotating schedule between communities. And my opinion on that is I think that will only create further confusion within the village. When it comes to, oh, is it my turn to have it at 7 AM or is it my turn to have it at 10 AM? And I don't think that will tackle the issue that's at hand here with our collection schedule.
Okay, thank you very much, Taj, for that and for the report. Mr. Blackwell?
Thank you. So just to add a little bit more to that. So this is driven by sort of a bifurcated reality, and that is complaints from the community that staff have been receiving, coupled with concerns articulated by the ombudsperson's office. The goal of staff is try to find middle ground with regard to this. Staff is, it's obvious, but I'll say it, staff is not invested necessarily in one approach versus another. So staff is seeking and doing its best to find middle ground on this issue. The information that Mr. Bindra's put together at this point is reflective of sort of a common practice, if you will, where there's a specific time, 7 AM, that is the earliest you can put your receptacles out, and a time in the evening that they have to be in by. Council can consider that. Council can refer this matter to for further research, etc. And then the final thing I'll say is, Bear Smart plays a significant role in this community and with regard to this issue. And so naturally, staff recognizes the importance of Bear Smart's input with regard to these decisions. We recognize the Bear Smart designation as a provincial designation bestowed upon the municipality, one that I would suggest the municipality could wear with pride. And so it's not uncommon that we have to sort of tweak aspects of bylaws to sort of find that sweet spot, whatever that sweet spot might be. And once one does find a sweet spot, it doesn't mean that sweet spot stays there forever. It may be that things start to shift over time and issues like this have to be reassessed again. So I just wanted to add that addition.
All right,
And
thank you very
if
much.
I could make a comment through the chair, I hear, reconsidering the stagger time, it was just kind of spitballing ideas, and I recognize that would create a deep sense of confusion. I would be curious if we could ask staff to look into either sending out 2 tracks, what the cost would be, because I believe maintaining our Bear Smarts status is very important for the community, for the safety of the community, as well, perhaps looking into 2 different days of collection where not everybody's garbage is out on the same day. Just again, ideas, what would that be? I know there would be a cost incurred, but if it comes down to the safety of the community and the safety of the wildlife of which we've chosen to live amongst, then I think it's worth investigating.
Hey, any other comments? All right, thank you very much, Taj, for all the work.
I have lots of comments. First of all, it's unfortunate we didn't get to see what Taj is representing, because that would have been helpful. So yeah, we've spoken about this before. Send us the stuff before the meeting so we can consider it. There is one other community. There's a scheduled pickup in Metro. I think it's Coquitlam. Can't remember. My mind's a little foggy now. But what everyone needs to understand is all these other communities have very different receptacles and systems for picking up. And we don't have that. And you got to look at what we're trying to do versus what other people are trying to do. Other people are taking different actions, different methods. They have bigger bins, they have the bear resistant bins. It's really cost prohibitive. We're looking at that. We're trying to look at that through the Bear Smart group and revisit that. We've done it once before in the past. There's a lot of factors that go into this. And I'll say it again, with 100% clarity, this was the biggest positive impact on reducing the bear conflicts that we were having. Well, conflicts, wrong words. Bears getting into garbage that we were having when this started off back in 21, 22. So, and there's been a lot of work put into this. And just to be clear, and Norma is not referring to just this bylaw. You've tried to go back to the bylaw before we even had Bear Smart, right? Which is really antiquated, and no one does that. So we had a meeting, Taj and Ross, you were definitely there. I think Ken might have been. And I came out with that meeting. I thought we had clear understanding. The problem was we needed to change the fee schedule. And that's what the action was, change the fee schedule, not tear up the bylaw. And it's a handful of people. I mean, it's not a lot of people. And many people have told me it's not a big issue. I know one mom that is a school teacher. Her garbage goes in a plastic bag. It goes in the trunk. She drops it off on the Friday on the way into work. It takes about 3 minutes out of her trip. We've put all the means we can to accommodate people, and our circumstance is different. Sure, we all live on the North Shore, but not all of those 12 communities live surrounded by as much forest as we do. So there's a lot to be considered here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Todd?
One thing I do want to bring to the attention is, I think the complaints are only going to increase when we begin actually getting to the point of issuing fines. I think due to the fact that fines haven't been issued, the community or the neighborhoods that are at a disadvantage and are being fined basically as a repercussion of it, I think the complaints are only gonna increase as we actually start laying the hammer down on fines and whatnot. So I think that's something that council needs to be aware of and something that needs to be considered.
All right, thank you, Todd. Councillor Broughton, you had your hand up.
Yes, I heard a concern about losing Bear Smart status, and certainly I don't get any indication that by making the change proposed that we would lose our Bear Smart status, and it is highly valued by the community. Every one of these other communities does not have the collection schedule that we have. The chair of the Bear Smart Committee, or the future chair of the Bear Smart Committee, attended our last meeting and took exception to and had done a freedom of information regarding an email that I'd sent to the conservation officer. And in that, and I thought she quite dramatically misrepresented the concern that I was expressing to the conservation officer. There's tremendous support for Bear Smart in Lions Bay. There are, however, there have been instances where people are almost at a zealot status on some of this stuff, and there has been some cases where people are expressing concerns about they're feeling intimidated, they're feeling that they should not, report. They don't, there's almost to the extent of a feeling of a bullying. So the concern that I think there's huge support for Bear Smart in the community, and I think if that the Bear Smart committee needs to be sensitive to everyone. And, you know, I just heard if I'm a counselor who votes against or votes in favor of this motion, and then I didn't hear the last part, but it did sound like I was, you know, a terrible person or something. So, you know, I don't think that's a great way to maintain relationship within the community. And I don't think it's helping us support Bears Farm. I'm a profoundly supportive of Bears Farm, and I'm very proud of the symbol that we have outside the community center. And facilitated having it in the store area while this building was under construction. And if I don't happen to agree on some particular aspect, that doesn't mean I'm not a strong supporter. So you know, I think we need to be data driven on this. It sounds like we're emotion driven to the greatest extent, and thank you for bringing this. You know, there's 12 very smart communities. You have reached out to all of them, and we have accurate information here. So this really informs our debate.
All right.
And
If I could make another comment, then this again would underline the need to look at either 2 different pickup days or 2 trucks, because it sounds like if we want to maintain harmony with Bear Smart status as well as garbage pickup times, it's going to end up costing us more money. We need to find out what that's going to be. When it comes to just speak about fines, nobody likes to get a fine. So complaints are going to happen. If you're speeding in your car and you get pulled over, you're going to complain about getting a fine. When people park and they don't pay in Lions Bay, as well as every other metro community, they get a parking ticket and they get a fine, and they have a complaint, the potential to complain, to dispute, or whatever. So we need to not be concerned in making decisions about the potential for people complaining about getting a fine because they're just simply not adhering to a bylaw. So it sounds like there's going to be a solution here. But we do need to get, as Councillor Broughton said, more data, because if we look at getting different bins so everybody can put their garbage out at the same time, what's that going to cost versus what 2 trucks are going to cost? Either way, it would seem that we're not going to come up with some sort of perfect harmony here, as the CAO said. We need to find a sweet spot, and I guess we just need a lot more information before we could move forward on any kind of decision.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell?
Just to point out, not all these communities, so Port Hardy specifically, do not have bear-proof garbage cans throughout the community. So I'm wondering, and this is a question for council, if you would like staff to do further research, not only with regard to what Councillor Cunliffe was speaking about just now, but also if the council is interested in information on what those 11 other communities do with regard to garbage receptacles, we can research that, provide that, bring that information.
All right, Taj, I think.
Can I just?
Job. Sorry, Councillor Cunliffe. Did you have something else to add?
I was just going to say I would be in full support of that, CAO Blackwell. Thank you very much, and over to you, Neville. Through the chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to correct something.
I'll come right back to you. Taj, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And you pointed out that none of the other 12 communities or 11 communities have the staggered time. So I think that's important. Would be interested in receiving more information. And I think Councillor Broughton's comments about trying to work closer, and I think Bear Smart working closer with the community and maybe a little more sensitive to those and others' feelings and hardships and so on with those that are working or have children and such is important. Councillor Abbott, over to you.
Okay, so just to be clear, to get Bear Smart status, we did have to change the bylaw. That's what Norma was referring to earlier. If we didn't do that, we would not have Bear Smart status. I'm talking about the change now. Norma was referring to the change back when we got Bear Smart status. And Taj's suggestion is to go back to the bylaw before that, which cost insists we changed. We would lose our Bear Smart status. That's correct. Also, I just want to point out, Michael, Norma did not put in a freedom of information request. I happen to know that. And that freedom of information request that she got that information from did not emanate in this village. It was sent to Lions Bay Bear Smart. It wasn't done by anyone in this village. I'm not going to say any more of that, but she did not put a freedom of information request in.
I didn't actually say that she did. I
You
said
did.
that she-
Michael, you did.
Oh,
You just
I-
did.
That wasn't what I had
Meant to
intended.
say. Okay.
She certainly referred to it.
She spoke to it, I think, was probably what he was trying to
That's fine.
cross.
Just wanted to clarify and get confirmation from Councillor Abbott that you're saying that if we remove the collection schedule, that we lose.
No, I'm not saying if you remove the collection schedule. This bylaw has happened over different times. To get the original Bear Smart status, we had to change our bylaw about garbage collection. Right? It has since been, this bylaw has since evolved. And what Norma was saying is the suggestion you came forward with was to go back to the original bylaw, which wasn't good enough to get Bear Smart status. There has been other versions in between that are somewhere in between. Okay? I'm not saying you have to have a scheduled pickup to get Bear Smart status. You have to have a bylaw that reduces attractants, and it has to be in compliance with the circumstance you live in, and you have to enforce it. Those are the things you have to do. Well, amongst many other things.
Taj, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Councillor Abbott, I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not saying that we go back to our first garbage collection bylaw. The only change we're asking for at the moment is removal of the bylaw collection schedule where there's a differential or there's a difference in increased wildlife and I guess normal wildlife activity.
Low and high.
Or low and high. So it's not a matter of removing this bylaw and going back to the original. It's just a matter of removing this bylaw collection schedule that we have.
Okay, but you've done more than that. You've done more than that. You've gone back to 5 a.m. in the morning and recycling out the night before. So you've done more than that.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell?
So my recommendation is that we leave it here in committee of the whole. Staff will do some more research based on the input that we've received from council. We can even reach out to the Conservation Officer Service to get their feedback on the issue and so forth, bring you more information, and we'll bring back that to another committee of the whole for further discussion. I mean, the goal here is to get it as right, quote unquote, as we can, rather than pursue sort of an approach that is not going to be accepted. So our goal here is to find that middle ground, and we will report back based on council's input.
Okay, thank
Can
you
I
very
make
much.
one final comment? It's going to be a short one. So
Councillor Abbott, then we'll move on, otherwise the meeting won't get
I just want to
completed.
remind people how this happened. We started off with a voluntary program that 99% of the residents participated in. And there were complaints from residents about the complaints that people that didn't participate. And that's why they asked us to put it into the bylaw. So you're going to go back to that. You're going to get as many complaints about people saying, why does my neighbor not have to, why is my neighbor not complying? So
All right.
Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Abbott. Taj, just one more time, thank you very much for all the work you put into it, and we appreciate both yourself and Mr. Blackwell's research.
Thanks.
So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll move to item 7.1.2, and that is the budget, and I'll pass it over to Mr. Chertoff. We okay? We don't need to take a break for anyone? All good?
To the
Okay,
chair.
Mr. Chertoff.
So, where we left off at our last meeting, the whole meeting, we didn't have time to go through the supplementals for operating costs. So that's one item I'd like to focus on today or discuss, the off-cost supplementals. That's on page 66 of 67. A couple of highlights for what was modified in our capital expenditures, the 5-year capital plan is that through the infrastructure committee recommendations, the pH water adjustment is now included in the 5-year capital plan in 2025 for $200,000 as an approximation of what it's going to cost. And there's also an addition for village hall heat pump. I've got a placeholder in there for $200,000. It was a little difficult to follow through the various email chains on that, but I would hope that Councillor Abbott could speak to what that number, if that's about the right number or not, but it is highlighted in as a red item, as in we need to do it next year because as we previously discussed, that money needs to be spent or committed before March 31st to spend it and incur the construction or implementation through October to midsummer for discussion with the province. However, we do need to have a plan in place to put that money to use.
Sorry,
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
Joe, forgive me for just parachuting this in. I don't think we talked about the fire truck replacement budget of 50,000,
Yes,
bumping that up. Are you gonna cover that up today, or is that?
that is in the operating OpEx supplement.
You got it covered?
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, Joe.
Right, so I was wondering if hopefully you've had a chance to review over the weekend and yesterday the page 63 of 67, the 5-year capital expenditure plan with those 2 changes. Were there any comments regarding the current status of the plan spend for 2025?
Sorry, just for Rain Coast, just to advise for the minutes. that,
Neville has stepped away
Yeah, as of, shoot, sorry, hang on,
2 minutes ago.
7:44.
Okay, Neville Abbott has left the meeting. 7:44. Thank you for that. Back to you, Joe.
Right, so I was turning your attention to page 63 of 67, in particular the 2025 column for the planned capital expenditure in 2025, which has been updated for the pH water adjustment of $200,000 and a placeholder for the village hall heat pump upgrade using LG cap funds of approximately $200,000. Were there any further comments or we would be ideal if Director of Operations were to speak to anything that's new, but I think we've had these conversations before, so unless there's any further comments, we could move on to the operating supplements.
Will we address the 200,000 budget on the recent activities and whether it needs to be topped up or where we might think it's going?
Thank you, and Mr. Cherkoff can jump in on this one too. At this point, I believe that we are fine with that $200,000 because as we get the invoices, we have sort of authorization to proceed on these purchases. So we receive the invoice, we pay them, we submit that immediately to the province, and the province will be right on that. And within 2 hours, they will. Just kidding, it won't be 2 hours, but they will reimburse us for all of those costs. So we should be fine with that.
Great, so it's a sort of a revolving fund.
Yes.
Through the chair.
Yes.
To expand on that, I did speak with the province. The director is in charge of basically running the reimbursement program, the claims program, and he did say that just to expedite our claims process, that we as the actual invoices start coming in, we submit in the $50,000 chunks because that reduces the levels of authority that need to review it. Right. So then basically we're gonna be sending out a bunch of claim forms as they come in, unless we get a pretty significant invoice. And I know that like for TreeX is up to like $200,000. That may require further levels of review, but for the most part, we're just gonna start pumping as we get the invoices, pumping up the claims.
Yeah, that's great. So you're encouraging the contractors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea. Okay, back to you, Joe.
All right, well, if there wasn't anything on the 5-year capital plan, again, not really much has changed. I will draw your attention to one item that maybe you can think about, or digest or consider for our next meeting is, so our current total capital expenditure, for 2025 is proposed to be $4,222,000. That represents, you can see that on page 65 of 67. So we're trying to figure out where the money's coming from. So what the capital cost that we're planning to incur in 2025 of $4.2,773,000, that's going to be reimbursed through the grant, the Lions Baby Park project. There will be $719,000 that are drawn from reserves that have been previously taxed for, and they're just sitting there waiting. It's just been deferred the projects, but we'll put it towards those projects that were identified. So the current draw from reserves as presented is $2.5 million. That will, I guess what I'm trying to get at is at the end of the day, we have about $6 million in the bank, $6.5 million in the bank. And this kind of spend will significantly deplete our cash reserves. So we don't.
What page are we on, sir?
We're looking at tandem 63 and 65.
65, okay.
So I just wanted council to be aware of that. Currently, the plan is just purely drawing from our current existing reserves. Another consideration would be debt financing under the temporary borrowing bylaw that we passed to extend borrowing under our bylaws for water infrastructure. And I believe that's we have 1.9 million available there. So that's just something to consider. The current rates from MFA, they're doing their rate reset in mid-April of this year. They are projecting somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5% debt cost. I just wanted to draw your attention to that.
All right, thank you very much for
Okay, so if we're gonna move on.
Could I just ask what our current investments are bringing in?
With the Botany Creek slide, my ability to pursue investment was been delayed. I also was hesitant to tie up cash without understanding what the full scope of cost would be related to the slide. So I think now that we have basically the majority of the emergency response resolved on this continuing activity, I've got a very better sense of what I need to keep in the bank just to manage cash flow until we wait for receipt from reimbursement from the government. So I can give you an update on that at our next meeting on to, I have authorization where I'm going to invest money. I can give you a better idea, update as to how I placed it and then what our expected returns are.
What are the typical rates that you're looking at there?
I think the direction I received from our last meeting was a suggestion that I concentrate on a pooled investment funds. I didn't get into I was perusing their rates. They have a high interest mortgage pooled fund that they just reintroduced. So I'll be pursuing that. Well, Matt, I'm going to be.
Yeah. Do you remember what the rate was on that?
The rate that was provided before this new one came out was 4.5%.
4.5.
So that then we're currently earning 3.6 in our savings account.
Thank you.
So I'll draw your attention to, before we move on to operating cost supplementals, there are in our 2025 capital expenditure plan, there's a couple items here that I haven't really had any clarity on whether you're going to keep in there or not. So these are the items highlighted in green on page 63 of 67. I understand that we're missing a few councillors here at the moment, but I would like to eventually put a pin in these ones or have receive some direction from council regarding the bylaw vehicle, the fire command vehicle, the forklift for fire, and the electric jaws of life cutters and spreaders for fire. These have been kind of sitting in limbo for a while. The bylaw vehicle is a new request. I believe Mr. Blackwell and Mr. Bindra had provided counsel on how to probably end up saving us money in the future. However, the command vehicle for fire, the forklift for fire, and electrical light for fire have been requested last year. They were deferred. They have been requested again. I believe Mr. Jermscheid had presented his request to council. So I was just wondering if you get some direction or some clarity on what the council would like to do with those. So I don't understand when we see the councilors, it's difficult to have.
I'm good with the and again, this is just general feedback.
Yeah.
Bylaw vehicle to me sounds very reasonable, and I think that we should also look at that command vehicle, given some of the activities that have happened.
At the chair, and I had, unfortunately, we weren't able to act on it as quickly as was required. However, Mr. Jermscheid has been in contact with various other fire departments, and he did present an opportunity to purchase an older, but newer compared to our engine. And then he was thinking it would be about like $32,000. So there's a significant discount in the market for some of these used vehicles that are actually newer than ours. So
If I could too, with those vehicles, we are not subject to fuss requirements as we are with pumper trucks that have to meet certain fuss standards. And so the command vehicles are outside of that. So they can have, more years on the clock, more miles on the clock. And so.
Sure. Okay. Councillor Broughton, anything to
I'm the bylaw vehicle seems to be a financially sound decision, right? Command vehicle definitely would I'm still not clear on the need there. The electric jaws of life, I'm just, I know in the past there has been different funding and available that possibly could be pursued there in terms of grants, but I'm not sure on that one. So if we could, anything that we can, those types of things tend to really attract a grant or a donation from different locations because they're identifiable. And then, and that being the case, we can then use those funds in other areas for the for fire.
Mr. Blackwell?
Given comments, I suspect that other members of council may have similar questions. I can't recall if the fire chief has provided a rationale for those items. If he has, so what we'll do is we will recirculate that rationale so that you can draw on that to help inform where you want to go.
Okay.
And it's great, the chair, this last one there to address is the forklift backhoe. It's currently a safety hazard, more so than last year, as in it has no brakes. So that was also a request from fire and included in his supplemental requests that was presented to council. So if you had some sort of clarity on that in the future, that'd be great.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe, anything to add before we move on?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great,
Back
thank
to
you.
you, Joe.
Thank you very much. Okay, so if I can direct your attention to page 66 of 67. This is the supplementals, operating supplementals. These are segregated by one-time and ongoing. For the most part, they are one-time fees, and they are also sorted by departmental request. The majority of these are currently, pardon me, already included in the budget that's been presented to you, aside from the two fire ones, which the fire, which I'll speak to in a second, an increase in the contribution to the fire reserve has been included in the most recent version that's been circulated to you. But the fire request for an increased paid on call standby of 50,000 has not been included in there, pending any sort of discussion by council or direction from council. So we do paving fairly frequently. So this year, we're looking to resurface Crystal Falls Road with an estimated cost of $109,000.
Is Crystal Falls Road still there?
That's a good question. I would have to confirm with Carl if that's a specific area.
Is it significantly damaged or is it?
Yep, it's fine.
No, there's no damage. But this is a good segue, if I could, just to sort of bring awareness to this. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in Lions Bay with regard to its infrastructure. We are not shovel ready for this work. What we really should be moving toward is a comprehensive design for all of our roads to deal with the incorrect camber that is causing the water to run off inappropriately, causing water to sheet down large sections of road, which means that there's more salting that has to go on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if we had a shovel-ready design for all of the roads here, when it comes time to rebuilding those roads, we're ready to go. The engineering standards won't change. So for instance, when it comes to the placement of this water line, there are huge problems, as council is aware, with the apron in front of the fire hall. We would like to be able to, in theory, flatten that out so it's easier for the fire trucks to get in there. That needs a design. Wouldn't it be great if that whole section of road down to the intersection down here was pre-designed with the ability to close some of these ditches so there's more space for pedestrians to walk safely instead of having to walk on the road, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not doing that yet. We really need to be doing that sort of work in the future. I'm looking at you, but I'm sort of.
Yeah, I'm with the professional.
Thank you for that. Joe, back to you.
Yeah, so that's a one-time fund expenditure included in the public works budget. Then there is maintenance with the mag intake access road, addition culverting grading for $40,000. Some new summer tires for public works trucks. The service on 72 hydrants for $36,000. Reflooring of the Smith building, which was previously delayed due to planned move to pit, for $12,000. Bridge and route inspection and potential remediation was estimated to be $180,000. It was included in a previous budget. So we're not asking for additional funding for that. However, due to the delay, it may come out to be slightly higher. So that's just one thing to consider. So I did split this out just for transparency for the drought emergency reserve and the Botanic Creek recovery. So we had previously allotted $200,000 to the drought emergency reserve. With our special council meeting, it was approved to repurpose that to address the Botanic Creek reserve. So I just showed it coming out and then coming back in. It's just no dollar value. In fact, I just wanted to be clear as to where that money was earmarked for. We've got regular vehicle maintenance, repair of aging vehicles. This has been, I think, from what I've seen from correspondence through Public Works and discussion with Carl, that the trucks do need some significant remediation.
So if I could, the issue's bigger than that. These trucks, which are really not that old, are really starting to present with more and more and larger problems. So what does that mean? I don't know, but it's not going to be good. My hope is that we can find our way through this without having to develop a justification to replace one or more of these vehicles. But I would argue, I would suggest, having had to look after a fleet of some 400 vehicles, this early set of problems with these Ford vehicles is bizarre. And it's not just one of them, it's all of them. And so we stay tuned. It's a bit of foreshadowing that this is premature and it's significant. We don't know why they're failing in this sort of way. So hopefully with these repairs, as expensive as they are, hopefully that will.
Anything to do with driving up on the off-road?
No, these are sort of not related. These are just things you might expect to fail on a truck at 500,000 kilometers instead of where we're at with these trucks. And it
It's
seems
different things.
lots of different
It's
things
lots of different
Yeah.
things, but it's all typically high mileage items.
that you would normally expect with high mileage vehicles. I mean, I will grant you that Public Works really uses their trucks. They're not
Mhm.
gentle sort of, put leaves in the back sort of thing. They're heavily used. But they're pickup trucks. They're
Mhm.
supposed to be able to be used for work purposes, but they're really not holding up very well. And aging, I would argue, prematurely and significantly. So in my experience with all of these vehicles, our fleet was comprised of GM vehicles, Chrysler vehicles, Ford vehicles, Toyota vehicles. Most reliable over the longest period of time, the fewest repairs are Toyotas, followed by Fords. Not the case anymore, for whatever reason.
Is Ford prepared to step up at all in light of they may not get a business again?
Well, and it's not the dealership, it's the manufacturing.
Yeah.
And, not that this matters, but I'll say, because we're in committee of the whole, I have a newish Ford truck. Problems I've had with that thing, from premature rusting to $2,500 brake jobs.
Hmm.
So it's not just our trucks, it seems to be a Ford brand sometimes.
I guess we could probably speed this up by maybe directing your attention to, this was another request from fire for I'll back it up. So there's two fire requests here. So we currently approved from last year a $50,000 contribution to a sinking fund for saving up for our new fire truck, which we're gonna need eventually. The $50,000 a year contribution is likely insufficient for our purposes, and I believe that an increase in that funding per year as an ongoing cost would be an annual contribution of $100,000, not $50,000. So that is one request here.
If I could, this is the reason for this, and Joe and I have spoken about this. Your $50,000 a year you're lucky if that's keeping up with inflation. It is wise to be able to be planning for your infrastructure replacement in advance, socking the money away for the rainy day. The fire truck replacement is coming eventually, as Mr. Chernoff said. $50,000 isn't cutting it, or even close to cutting it. Although the municipality can borrow money to buy a fire truck, it's costing us to do that. So it is wiser, in my estimation, to allocate more money for the reserves, which we can invest and get a return on that investment, which then can get funneled back into the reserves. It's a better utilization of the funds rather than having to pay it all off with interest and getting no benefit other than having the truck.
And so I guess to share another potential avenue for funding is the Canada Works Fund. They are now with the new fund financing acquisition of fire trucks. There's another intake in the spring for applications. So staff can, if so directed, pursue an application if we're there at that point, or investigate the opportunity to have some sort of grant funding through Canada Works Fund.
All right, I think that'd be wise. I'd endorse that.
One other little request, Joe, make sure you speak up so folks online can hear your voice.
Can you hear me now? The other one that was asked for, presented by Mr. Jershai, was an increase in paid on call standby rates for our volunteer firefighters. His request was an annual increase of $50,000 based on basically the hourly rate that we're paying them. That was so in his experience at through discussions with other fire departments and his experience at City of West Vancouver, our standby rates are significantly lower than other municipalities. That being said, it's a volunteer organization, so be hesitant to incur such a significant increase. It's almost like 5 times what we're going to pay. was the request.
Say what, sir?
About 5 times what we currently pay for standby rates from,
5 times what?
5 times what we currently pay.
We currently pay.
It's gonna be an increase. I mean, so that you can take that in two ways, two views. One, we're significantly underpaying, or number two, that, well, as a volunteer firefighter, then you're getting your training, so that's what you're earning essentially. I think Mr. Jermshide's real reasoning behind that, it's not so much in a financial sense for the firefighters, it's retention to attract. So that is the request from fire, and we can always bring back in Mr. Jermshide to re-discuss his request, but that's, and I will say that that has not been included in as an operating expense item. It's just sitting here for visibility, but it's not included in the budget.
Okay, I think it might be wise to bring it back one more time.
Okay, I will connect with Mr. Jermshide. Okay. So most of the stuff, aside from the items that I've highlighted, are just general operations and maintenance. All the stuff we do every year to a certain degree. So unless there are any specific questions, I just wanted to bring your attention to certain items here. And if you want to take some more time to review or come back with any specific questions, I'd be more than happy to forward your request to Public Works for the most part.
Yeah. Okay, Councilor Brown.
Okay, in January of 2023, pardon me. No, January 22. Oh, I'm confusing myself already. Anyway, we identified that January 2023, we identified that all our, I think we had $6 or $7 million at that time. It was in one savings account.
Yeah. And
it took a significant period of time to get council's attention to reorganize our where the money was in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, I believe when you came on board, you opened a checking account, which I think we saved us $3,000 a month or something, or $3,000 a year, pardon me, and increased the amount of interest that we earned significantly at that time.
Mm-hmm.
However, we've then gone on over the last 2 years to try to increase the amount of interest that we're earning on the various money that we have, various pots of money that we have, and I'm not questioning staff here. I'm saying the council has not worked expeditiously in getting an investment policy in place. So, I think that there's been, when I'm hearing we should increase, to $100,000 to invest for the fire truck, and then we're going to invest that money and make interest. And then I'm seeing that there's been ongoing history of not maximizing the amount of interest that we've earned. So another spot I have a concern about is that I believe that we're one of the few municipalities that has an infrastructure levy of 10%. And so we're stockpiling money for the fire truck. We've got an infrastructure levy, and I don't think that we're responsibly getting the income that we need to be getting on that. And as I said, I think that council has not performed to get this moving along. So I'm pretty concerned. I'm very concerned about it. So when I start talking about, pardon me through the chair, but when I start talking about limiting our increases of 2-3% to attempt to balance out the 9% from last year and to look more in keeping with some of the other communities, I'm looking for other places to generate a lot more income and really encourage encourage council to support all those initiatives. So, you know, I think we've got to get this, the investment policy actively engaged and active here. I mean, we're talking about a difference between 3.6 and 4.5%. Doesn't sound like a lot. When you're talking $6 or $7 million, it's a lot. It's a lot. So 1% of $6 million is $60,000. So it's $5,000 a month. So anyway, so
Point well.
my point
Yeah.
made again.
No, I think we're all
But
focused on that,
but
that
the
investment.
investments just have got to be handled here.
Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you.
Hand it.
Yeah, just to point out that further to Councilor Brown's comment about finding other sources of income. My concern for this municipality as your administrator is that we are financially not sustainable as we currently sit relative to the ongoing demands for infrastructure maintenance and replacement, as well as anything larger than foreseen. There are few options available, and I know this is a hot topic in this community, but the only way to move to a more sustainable financial footing is to increase the residential density within the existing boundaries on existing infrastructure. Not spread out, because that doesn't pay for itself, but capitalize on in strategic locations on existing infrastructure and increase the amount of tax revenue that's generated. Beyond that, there's no silver bullet, and I know it's an uncomfortable conversation, and I know it's something that well, let me just say, I think it's an important conversation for the communities to start having, to sort of reconcile all of these pieces. How do we achieve this? What are the options? If we were looking at that, what would that mean to the community? Is it tenable? Is it not tenable? But not having those conversations is not helpful.
So we need to be having strategic planning meetings.
If I could, may I make a comment on that? It was
Yeah,
brought
sure.
up during last council in discussion over allowing duplexes. And the rationale behind that is every home is allowed a suite. If you are already carrying 2 households, what would be the difference from having a duplex with 2 addresses, essentially, 2 property tax bases, as opposed to just charging an additional few $100s or $1,000 or so for extra services? So I think a start point, without actually looking at adding more infrastructure to the village, because as we've seen with recent events, we have a very precarious topography. So development needs to be handled with kid gloves very strategically, and it is going to be a very long-term outlook. But we sort of left that off the board last council. There was some discussion from residents that they did not want to move away from the single family home dwelling. But I think that this would be a thoughtful time to look into that again. Have a town hall discussion. You're already having essentially 2 households on 1 address. Metro Vancouver has Point Grey or Kerrisdale, for example. Shaughnessy, they're going to allow 8 residences on 1 existing lot. Now, those are larger properties on a whole, but that would be a start point, and it would not tax too much on the infrastructure. I understand that the majority of the village is on septic, so there is some logistics there with, it needs further investigation, I would say.
All right, I think you brought up some good points, especially with the town halls and perhaps, you know, where the village is willing to go. And Mr. Blackwell has talked about increased revenue through density, and that's something I think that we all have to discuss, and we have to get feedback from the community. So we can start though by, I think with councillors, I would encourage all the councillors to complete that strategic workbook and submitted into Mr. Blackwell. So I know that's been outstanding. It'll be on our to-do list, so please complete that and let's get that discussion moving. Okay, Mr. Cherkoff, I know last time you had opened up a couple meeting times in between the committee of the whole, and that seemed to be really helpful for the councilors. Could you do that again? And especially given this evening, we've got Councilor Reuter who's not here, Councilor Abbott has had to leave early. Perhaps you could open up a couple times.
Jerry, so you're reading my mind here. That was where it's gonna kind of dovetail off as we kind of get close to kind of finishing up this meeting. So unfortunately, with the Botanic Creek slide, that week where I was gonna have those spots open disappeared, and then we went to the Christmas break. So I will, and I was gonna say, so a lot of these cost requests are public works related. And if there's any further questions on the major capital expenditures, mostly capital projects for public works, with the imminent departure of our director of operations, I will schedule my expectation this Thursday, and then next week, let's say, I'll take a look at the committee meeting calendar, but something in the evening to make it a little more accessible for everybody. And I will coordinate with our director of operations so that he can be present to answer any specific requests regarding these items. I really can't speak more to what the purpose of this input.
Okay,
And I'll tomorrow morning, after I get a chance to speak with Carl.
All right.
I will send that invitation out.
no, that'd be great. I found those get together, the sidebar meetings helpful. So any other questions before we move on to the beach park?
If I may.
Yeah.
In anticipation of me sending out the meeting requests, let's prepare some space. If you do have a chance to take another look through the package that's been presented to you, if you could potentially, if you have questions that you could just send me in advance that I can prepare for, make the meeting as efficient as possible, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay, great. All right, we'll move to item number 8, beach park, and over to Councilor Broughton.
Okay, I sent an email to CEO Blackwell today and suggested it would be best addressed in actually, I think I asked for in the special council meeting and suggested more it's a discussion topic, so it'd be more committee of the whole. So I just had a series of questions, really. We received the invitation today to the Lions Bay Beach Park revitalization, and so I just wanted to have the opportunity to understand a little better what that's going to look like. You know, typically council would like to, well, you know, if someone had phoned me this afternoon, I would have been kind of flat-footed about what's going on, what does it look like, where is it at? So I guess, you know, I've sent a series of questions, but I just roll those at you and then let's maybe spin up from there. Could you please provide the following to council as part of the meeting this evening? Who is presenting on the Lions Bay Beach Park revitalization?
So it's not gonna be a presentation format. There will be storyboards with the opportunity to provide comments on these storyboards and images that are shown.
Okay, so there's no presentation.
No presentation.
So what are they presenting? Well, what will be on the storyboards?
Excuse me, so the beach park project went out rather than tender, because we didn't have anything to tender. We went out and we utilized the RFP process. With that, council will recall there was a scoring criteria associated with that. There was a group that was pulled together to undertake that scoring. It was brought to council by resolution awarded the contract. What constituted part of the scoring was the indicative design that was submitted. Each of the proponents submitted an indicative design. Indicative design is just that, it's indicative. It's not meant to be concrete, but it is It is the sort of the basis on which all of their numbers are provided. If we build this, then we can commit to that. That doesn't mean there's no ability to make adjustments and negotiate various aspects, and that's the beauty of the RFP process versus the tendering process. It gives us the latitude to negotiate this. So the Nick Bray Architects came in with an original indicative design in conversations with staff regarding the work that had been done so far, the history of the beach park and so forth. Conversations out on site, we had several meetings, several on-site meetings as well as online meetings. They have revised the indicative design draft concept to a point where they can take it to the community and ask for feedback on that. We cannot start from zero with a blank slate and say, okay, what do you want? We have to start with something that people can see, touch and feel sort of thing, and get their fingerprints on and make adjustments. Through this process, I will tell you, we can't, to get this done within the funding envelope time, the window, we have to move now. I had hoped that we would have been able to negotiate these contracts and so forth long ago, but this has been a very long process, far longer than I was expecting and hoping for. And we are right up against the window with regard to being able to have this constructed and open for June 1st. It makes me nervous even at this point, so we cannot afford any delays. It's unfortunately, as a result of all of this, a bit of a compressed timeline. So my goal is to solicit feedback from the community. If there are any sort of easy adjustments, that the architect will factor that into a design and make those adjustments. If it's starting over from scratch, the architect's not gonna be doing that. That will then come to council, and council will have to consider all of these factors, whether it's gonna be a hard decision for council, because some people in the community will love the design, some people in the community will hate the design, and some people in the community will have no opinion on the design. So it's gonna be a hard decision for council, but at the end of the day, it's council's decision how it wants to proceed. The sooner we can get a viable concept, the sooner they can complete the drawings and prepare the issue for construction drawings, which will then launch the contractor, Euro House Group, to start site works and demolition and so on, and begin the construction process. It's not the timeline that I would say I would hope for or is ideal. It's not. I was hoping that we would be right now, where we are right now in November. But for one reason or another, it wasn't materializing. So I recognize that it's very compressed, but hopefully we can all pull together and figure out a way through this and come up with something that's viable for council's consideration. Move forward accordingly.
So my understanding was that there were two proposals that were kind of hybridized or put together. The architect for one and the builder for another sort of thing.
Correct.
Which is what lengthened this out to a degree.
That was a piece of it.
That piece.
Yeah.
How will the feedback be received and provided to council? Right now, we're looking at a January 15th meeting and coming to council on January 21st.
Yep.
That's 6 days.
Yep.
And
But really, how many days, how many hours does council need to contemplate a design for? That's just like an hour, right? You either like it, you don't like it. It's not a multi-day thing. So
yeah,
the role here for staff is to be able to take those comments, coalesce them into something that is digestible for council can utilize, make sense of. Some of that will get automatically incorporated into an updated design, the easy stuff. The more sort of tricky or controversial or whatever you want to call it, stuff may not be included in the design, but will come to council for council's direction on this. So it's going to be a little bit fluid. I can't necessarily predict exactly what, In a perfect world, everyone would say, love it, it's West Coast modern, it reflects our village, hooray, but that's never the case, so we'll have to objectively sort of manage the feedback.
Okay, I mean, the the majority of council had, you know, basically taken the previous work and said staff here, you know, and so I really want to, you know, value that and honor that. But it's still, I'm really anxious that there's a good fit for this community. This is the gem, this is the jewel of the community. There's been a huge amount of work go into it in the past. And so I guess my next question is, you know, how has the work of the previous teams, and there's been a number of them involved in this, how has that been reflected in the presentation?
So we are not going to be reflecting the previous work. We are going to only be showing what this current concept looks like.
Okay, and how much access or how actively has the previous information been presented to this current team?
They have been provided with the information. Yeah, but not a lot of it is useful for them. It either fits the concept or not. So the actual physical design of the washroom building, it's entirely different concept because the other one was not affordable to build. So it had to be substantially scaled back, so it was more cost effective, so it could be built and have enough money to undertake the other works like kayak racks, recontouring the grassy slope and replacing the damaged sidewalks and all of these sorts of things.
Okay.
What a cautionary note too is, I understand or fully appreciate sort of the passion in behind this sort of thing. As an urban designer who has been in many communities delivering large projects, design projects, I'm fully aware of the complexities and the choreography that goes into managing design. The cautionary note that I would suggest for this council is, don't let perfect get in the way of progress. You're never going to get perfect, and it's going to be council's job to figure out where that tipping point needs to be, because there isn't the room in the timeline or the budget to keep going around and around multiple iterations. So that's going to be the hard work for council, is figuring out when do we pull the trigger on this.
Okay, well, you know, I don't think that we're ever anyone's going to achieve perfect, but I think that there's been some huge amount of work to aim high and really get the best for this community. And you know, I just want to make really sure that the team that's putting this together is really cognizant of what a pivotal part of this community the Beach Park is.
So I can assure you that there is absolutely recognition. This is talked about in almost every meeting. That on top of recognition of that, there's a lot of pride. So Nick Bray architects are very proud of their work. Their reputation is a big deal for them, and they speak about it. Same with Euro House. I've included on that village update 2 links. I encourage everybody to check out their work. It's pretty spectacular stuff. With regard to the fit and finish, obviously it's way out of scale with regard to Beach Park washrooms, but that eye for design and detail is what matters to me. And as an urban designer, I would say that I think it's a fantastic concept. Other people may not agree. I think it absolutely would really shine for Lions Bay. It's something that I think would really stand out, would be iconic, and I think that the community would feel very proud of. But that's just one person's view on it. You ask somebody else, and they may say it's the worst thing they've ever seen in their life. So
hopefully not. Okay, now council a couple of months ago authorized the Beach Park Advisory Committee to meet with this team, but the team was not established at that time, and it actually didn't get established until I don't know when has the package actually come together in the last, when the Bray Euro House partnership was nailed down, right?
So I can say the committee doesn't exist anymore. it's done. And I have reached out to members of the committee asking whether there was an appetite to sort of engage on that.
Right.
And what was expressed to me is that they preferred to rely on the work, the hard copies of the work that had been done and utilize that approach.
Rather than be involved.
Yeah. Not that I'm not gonna necessarily, I can't speak for them.
Yeah.
And I can't certainly say that they didn't want to meet per se, but they preferred, my sense of it is that they preferred to rely on the materials that had been prepared.
Okay, and what I guess I would ask of you tonight is that Councillor Cunliffe and I were chair and committee member on the committee, and I think it would be really helpful if we had some background as to what is going to be presented. Are you able to share that with us?
Not yet, no, it's gonna be, because.
It's gonna be on the 15th?
It's gonna be close, because it's such a compressed timeline. What went out today is the result of what I just got. So, what I was looking for, in part, one of the things that's holding this whole thing back is getting confirmation of a project timeline. I couldn't put anything out there without having some sort of milestone. So that came a few days ago. I couldn't get on it because of other pressing issues.
Right.
So as soon as I could get
Yeah, I
to it
really
today,
want to acknowledge what all has been going on as well, of course.
so it's as soon as I could get it out. Again, not ideal, not what I would recommend, not what I like, but I also have to be pragmatic around this and realize that there's a project to deliver. And this is the best.
Okay,
Just-
any
I'm
last
sorry.
questions? And I'm gonna suggest that
There were
we,
a lot of, yeah, sorry.
we go
there was a lot
offline
of
rather than
questions
have
and
a-
a lot of
yeah,
moving around.
but rather than have a conversation, I'm
really-
thinking we
yeah.
take it offline.
Okay,
But
well,
one last-
I think it is important. I think this is a very important item for the
Mhm.
community. And I am really a strong advocate that it be as successful as we possibly can make it. And so, you know, I do want to shape the framework a little bit and make sure that it can be as good as it can be. And I'd like to have as much information as early as I can.
I think you brought
If
up
I'm
that,
asking that.
that would be important to me, and I'm sure other councilors, is having some information in advance. Just because we've gone through this as a community for 18 months with the last committee, and previous to that, there was committees. A lot of consultation with the community. It would be nice to see something in advance of that meeting to be able to provide some thought and feedback. Because from that meeting to 1 week making the decision, I understand the deadline is tight, but this has been going on for years. So to all of a sudden crunch it into 1 week,
It doesn't have to be.
any information that you've got would be helpful. And I understand too, if the deadline now is we push it past 1 week, it won't be done. So that's, you know, now everyone's, these last minute emergency situations for project after project, it would be nice to have some proper flow to it, but
It's hard up against the back of May. So, all of these decisions are up to council. If council's not ready to make a decision in a week, council doesn't have to. But
the
the
council needs information though. I hear you, but to be fair,
yeah, so,
information is not provided, council can't make a decision, so it's a,
so that will be
It's a two-way
provided. The only downside, so normally what the process is, just what I'm telling you. And the reason that council typically doesn't get information in advance is because council has no information, no supporting information to explain anything that they're looking at. So what then happens is people can start developing biases and preconceived ideas, and things can go sideways really quickly. So on top of everything else, I would not recommend you do it anyway. I would wait till you have the architectural team there, so you can ask questions about on the fly, you can see it objectively at the time. And that's gonna result in the cleanest, most objective response to the design, and avoid some of these pitfalls that early sort of sequestered.
Well, you know, as chair of the committee for 2 years, I think it would have been helpful for me to have been have met with this team earlier, certainly, so, you know, I think that,
So just for the residents, again, the meeting date set is, what's the
It's
date?
the Wednesday, next Wednesday at 7 p.m.
That is the 15th.
Wednesday is the
15th. Yeah.
15th, yeah.
Yeah.
At Brown Hall. There will be some storyboards put up. And I have to have a conversation with the architecture company to determine how they want to start collecting the input. There's a number of different ways. One of the ways is simply utilization of Post-it notes that people write their comments on and put on various drawing sheets. Other ways are response forms where people can put more information on. So there's lots of different tools and techniques. I assume we'll be using multiple formats.
I certainly encourage multiple formats. I think this community has been very actively involved in a lot of input over the years in various projects, particularly in Howe Sound. And they're very astute and they're very much wanting to be heard, you know, and if they feel they're heard, I think they will respect decisions that are made, but I think that I think it's as fulsome an input process that you can facilitate as possible is really critical.
Yeah,
Okay,
but that is the
People are
purpose.
gonna expect that.
great. I mean, any other comments before we wrap up?
Thank you for taking this time,
No,
Mr. Mayor.
I
Thank
think
you.
it's important.
CEO
Beach
Blackwell,
Park's,
really appreciate that.
like you said, it's a jewel of the community, so we all want it badly, so, okay. We'll move to item number 9, public comments, questions. No, anyone online would like to comment or have a question? No, okay, with that, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councilor Broughton, seconded by
Second,
Councilor
Second.
Cunliffe. Favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much for everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
I'll see you downstairs, I'm just gonna walk my dog.
Thank you. Is that a metaphor?
may I just ask a question, just housekeeping? Was there a